Alright, so in this lecture we are going to go over how to paint a rough object. Rough object is slightly different from a matte object in that a rough object, it can still be somewhat reflective, but it has much bigger pock marks or holes and texture in it than, say, something that's matte. With a matte object, the texture is so tiny that you can't actually see any sort of individual highlights, so it just ends up diffusing all of the light. A rough object, the texture is a lot bigger. So we have a new layer here, and I'm going to be using a texture brush. It's going to help make a big difference. I'm just using this one from the concept art brush pack that you can get in the links we listed. And we are going to, I'm using this one, the off-genometer, I guess that's what it's called. And let's go ahead and color pick here. We need to grab this gray to start. And actually, you know what? Let's come down here and start with painting in this reflected stuff here. So we'll color pick that, bring it down because we don't want it to be that reflective. We just want a hint of it. So it's going to be a lot darker and a lot more desaturated, probably even more than that. We can zoom in some here. There we go. And let's start painting that in on the sides there. Okay. We'll go ahead and grab that gray, bring it a little darker. This is going to be our core shadow here. Bring my brush size down. Okay, and then just blend this in. You can see how that texture brush already helps a lot. Helps it feel a little rougher, like we're not just painting a nice smooth ball there. Okay. Let's keep going here, work our way up the sides. Just darken that up a bit. Okay. Grab a little darker color there. Just keep working that core shadow. Trying to be really subtle here because we don't want huge jumps in contrast with something that's this rough. Alright, color pick that. Let's go a little brighter. Get a little bit warmer there. Bring my brush size up a bit. And then just a little bit brighter. And a little bit brighter than that, right there in the middle. All right, then we can kind of color pick some of this green over here. We'll bring it way desaturated and a little darker. And just paint in a little bit of green there on the sides. Bring it a little more yellow green. And then on top, we're going to go with a blue, but it's going to be very, very, very subtle. Okay. Let's go ahead and go a little tiny bit darker right down there in that core shadow. And then get really dark right there where it touches the ground. All right. It's looking pretty good so far. Let's just blend a few more of these spots here real quick. Help smooth them out some. And I'm going to make a new layer, and on this layer we are going to really help sell the rough texture of this. Oh, actually really quick before I forget, I just saw something I wanted to get a little bit darker here on the core shadow. All right, and then now we can go to that new layer here. And we're just going to bring our brush size up. I'm going to switch to, I'm just going to use like this sketching brush here. And we're going to use this to pull out just a few highlights in some of the texture here. And then we'll go darker. You can kind of make these little sort of pock marks in it. And let's do a few more around here. Bring my brush size a little darker as we get further and further away from the light source. And then darker as we get down here in the shadow area. Okay, and then we can do those little highlights there on the bottom edge of each of these. Bring that down some. Just go into every single one of these little bumps. Do a little tiny highlight right on the bottom edge of each of those holes. Those are probably too bright. Let's darken that up a bit. Alright, so these all feel a little bit strong to me, but that's okay because we did it on a separate layer. So all we really have to do Let's come over here to our layer panel. We're going to lower the opacity on these. Probably about maybe a little lower. I think right about there looks pretty good. And then lastly, just going to, no, yeah, that looks good right there. We're going to bring up our, I'm going to bring up the brightness of this a little bit. I think it's coming off as a little dark. And we'll do the same thing for the ball underneath. We're just getting a little too dark there, I think. And we'll raise the opacity on those little pock marks a little more. All right, and there you go. That is how you paint something rough. So that is it for this lecture, and I will see you guys in the next one.